And it's so great that we have all of you here with us today. We're at 2 past, so even though we still have people joining, I do want to be mindful of our presenters' time. So I am going to go ahead and get started so that we can really have time for that Q&A at the end. So I will just say one more time, this session is being recorded. We will be posting the recording on our OIT website afterward. I will link to that in the chat for you. The chat is disabled. Only the panelists are going to be able to link resources out to you. But we do highly encourage and request that any questions that you have, please utilize the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We will answer what we can at the end of the training session. And what we are unable to get to, we will follow up with an FAQ afterward that we will share on our OIT website. So even if it looks like the time is running out, please submit your questions because we will follow up and get back to you. Our presenter today is from Microsoft. PJ Harris is here to teach us about using the university approved for confidential and highly confidential information, Microsoft Copilot Chat. PJ, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is PJ Harris. I am a Copilot CSA within Microsoft Education, and I'm delighted to get in the world of Copilot with every single one of you. Hopefully, this is not the very first time of using Copilot Chat, but if it is, don't worry. We'll be starting from the ground up, so you'll have a whole bunch of information to take away from the session to help you be more productive in your day-to-day job. So, without further ado, I think we can go ahead and get going. Again, my name is PJ. I'm a Copilot CSA. I'm here alongside two of my colleagues, Will Thomas and Nick Conan. They will be in the Q&A section, assisting with the various questions that may come up throughout this session. But definitely looking forward to this interactive session ahead of us. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the agenda for today's call. Alrighty, so a couple of line items here when it comes to our session today. One, we'll be defining what Copilot Chat is, how it differs from other AI chat tools out there, as well as how we can go about utilizing Copilot Chat, some example use cases that may apply to you, and then dive into the world of agents and how that is related to Copilot Chat and how we can go about utilizing those as well to really hit on some maybe specific workflows that maybe the holistic Copilot chat solution may not address. So whenever we're learning something brand new, first we got to identify and define what exactly it is. So MD5 Copilot Chat, what exactly is that? And simply put, this is your approved AI chat tool that is included with your existing M365 licenses. It is accessible by simply going to your browser and typing in m365copilot.com. And what was considered exceptional about this generative AI tool is that we really take into consideration privacy. Something that maybe, or really other well-known third-party generative AI tools out there don't really, they take it in consideration, but they don't take it in consideration to the magnitude that we do here at Microsoft. In order to access it, just go to md5copilot.com. What we do, or what was included in the MD5 Copilot Chat solution, is that we enable what's called enterprise data protection. And in enterprise data protection, simply means that whatever you put into the tool, that information is not being used to train the tool itself on the back end. So the prompts, the files that you choose to upload into these chat sessions, we're not taking that information, going to the large language model that we're referencing, and then taking that private information that you're putting in there and making the tool better. It simply is just not, it doesn't happen. In addition to that, we do enable other compliance solutions to help ensure the proper use of this generative AI tool. But from the end user perspective, you could do things like upload files, you can generate cool images, create graphs and data visualizations, as well as many other things that we have listed here on the slide. In terms of accessing Copilot Chat, we have multiple different entry points that I like to highlight. And while I'm going through these different entry points, I want to, have everybody open up their browsers, hopefully Edge, of course, and then go to m365copilot.com. So in your Edge browser, hopefully, or any browser of your choice, type in m365copilot.com. It'll bring you to a page in which I will do a brief little video or brief little demo of what you're seeing there. So I'll meet you guys there here shortly. While you guys are doing that, I do like to highlight different entry points. One, by going to the browser page that you guys are currently doing. Also, you can access M365 Copilot through the application on your within the Microsoft Store. So if you're on a PC, open up the Microsoft Store, type in Microsoft 365 Copilot, and you can download that application to be then pinned to your taskbar in order to access Copilot Chat. In addition to that, you can access Copilot Chat via your Edge browser. So in the top right-hand corner within your Edge browser, you'll see a big Copilot icon. Click on that, brings out a sidecar for you be able to interact with Copilot Chat. On the bottom left-hand side in the Teams and Outlook apps, it does say here that it is coming soon. However, this has been fully rolled out to GA. So if you're within Teams and when you're within Outlook, and you see that Copilot icon, again, simply click on that. It'll bring you to the same page, give you that same experience as you get within the browser session. And then lastly, here we have the M365 Copilot mobile application. And I have to give a big shout out to our marketing team because sometimes a couple of our tools may cause a lot of confusion out there in the wild. So if you open up your app store via your iOS or Android device, type in Copilot, you might notice that you have multiple results. One called Microsoft Copilot, which is our consumer version or consumer application, that public free one. And that's out of scope for today's conversation. To mimic the same behaviors that we will go through today, simply choose the Microsoft 365 Copilot selection or result in that search. And
PJ,
if
I'm
that's
going to
some,
pause you real quick. We're having some questions about what web address they should be going to right now. Could you
yeah,
say that again?
yes. So what what I would like for everybody to do is open up the browser and go to m365copilot.com. So on the slide here, that is the URL that's referenced on the top left-hand corner. So I'll leave it here for a second just so everybody can see that. Microsoft 365 Copilot.com, m365 Copilot.com. Righty. For those of you who are interested in downloading the mobile application, I do have a QR code here that you can reference. So you can just take out your mobile phone, open up your camera app, scan this QR code, and then be able to access or download the Copilot Chat mobile application as well. Alrighty, guys, what we're going to do here going forward, I'm going to take a quick break from talking, of course, and we're going to play a brief little video to describe or give like a brief overview of Copilot Chat in terms of its features and capabilities. And then I'm going to share out my screen and we're going to walk through this tool set together. All right, I'm going to stop my video, open up the video here, and let's get going.
Copilot Chat gives you free and secure enterprise-ready AI chat powered by GPT-4o in a familiar and consistent interface. Say you work in business planning for an EV charging company and you're developing the strategy for the year. You start by asking Copilot to do some research on the web. You want some basic information, like how EV charging has grown by region. Copilot is grounded in the web, so it can reason over the entire internet and quickly pull the relevant information. Great! Now let's see how these national trends compare to your sales results. With Copilot Chat, you can easily and securely upload files, like your sales data, and have it visualize your regional sales for the past few quarters. And you can continue to iterate with Copilot, like asking it to recommend strategies to help increase sales in lower performing regions. With Copilot Chat, you can quickly gather insights from the web and securely upload and analyze your data, bringing the power of AI directly to your workflow.
Alrighty. It's a good brief overview. And what you guys are probably doing right now are saying, wow, that's really cool. But what I'm looking at right now is a little different than what was included in the video. And yes, there's nothing crazy going on. We did just go through a recent refresh in terms of the user interface for Copilot Chat. So let's go ahead and do a quick walkthrough of exactly what you guys are looking at. So let me go ahead and share out my screen real quick. Stop sharing here. Alrighty. So if you guys are able to see my screen, hope you guys are. I don't think there's a way to do a reaction here in Zoom, which is fine. But if you guys went to m365copilot.com within your browser, it'll bring you to this page here. A couple of things that you might notice that are a little bit different than what I'm showing and what you guys can see is that at the very top of this page, I have this work web icon. And this work web icon essentially means that I have what's called a Microsoft 365 Copilot license. And that is also out of scope of today's conversation. But with that Copilot license, it enables that work toggle. Now, work toggle gives me access to things like emails, files, and chats that I have access to as myself within my tenant. However, for today's conversation, we'll be focusing on the web toggle. So if any of you do have a Copilot license, please toggle it to the web side. This is the same features and capabilities that everybody here on the call has natively included in their M365 licenses. Underneath this web toggle here, we have the prompt box. This is how we go about interacting with Copilot. So if I want to ask Copilot questions about, hey, what's the weather for tomorrow, for example, this is where I would go and do that. Underneath that, I have the ability to add items to my chat session. So if I simply click on the plus icon, this is where I would go and add files and documents that I have access to and upload it to my chat session so that I can then have Copilot reason over that information and answer more direct questions about that particular file. Underneath the prompt box, we have the starter prompts. The starter prompts give me insights of how I can best utilize this tool. So from analyzing text to preparing a brief on today's news, right? There's multiple different example prompts that we push out or not we push out, but we provide to help give you some inspiration of how to utilize Copilot Chat. By default for these starter prompts, you only get about three. Every time you open up M365 Copilot Chat, you'll get a different three starter prompts that are located here. Do note they just roll around. It's just there to help give you some inspiration. If you want to see more of those prompts, you simply just need to click the See More drop down, and you'll get some more. These prompts are coming from what's called the prompt gallery. And the prompt gallery's main purpose is to give you a list of example prompts to utilize not only in Copilot Chat, but for those of you who have the Copilot license, other areas, other M365 applications where you can utilize Copilot. So if I were to click the prompt gallery, it gives me a little pop-up here. I call this the prompt gallery light, right? Where we can go in and see more prompts that we couldn't see in that previous screen. So I could scroll down, I could get more insight, more inspiration. I could filter this by particular action I'm looking to do, whether I'm trying to learn something or trying to catch up on some new items. Gives me prompts in alignment with my ask is, right? So of course I can uncheck those for example, for the sake of this demo. In addition to that, I do have filtering capabilities based on the persona, whether I'm in IT and marketing, right? Whether I'm in a nonprofit, retail, manufacturing scenario, these prompts will then be aligned to my filters. If I want to see a list of saved prompts, right? So if I were going through and looking at each of these prompts, I like this one because I use this one a lot. I like this sharpen your writing skills. So I decided to save that. I click the bookmark icon on each of these prompts, right? I can view a list of these saved prompts underneath the Your Prompts tab. And then again, if I had any filters from that previous screen, those filters would then carry over into this new tab. Do you want to highlight that? If you wanted to see a list of all of your saved prompts, just clear out the filtering capabilities, and then you'll be able to see just that. All right, that's the prompt gallery portion. On the top left here, you might see the search icon. The search icon is useful if you're trying to find relevant documents you have access to within your personal OneDrive. The chat is where we currently are right here. Um, Underneath chat, you'll see the agent section. So depending on whether or not your organization pushed out agents for you to be able to utilize, they'll be listed here. If you want to see a list of all agents, you can access what's called the agent store by clicking all agents. And then in here, I can go and search for maybe a particular agent I would deem or find useful for a particular task. If I want to go and create a net new agent, I can simply click create agent. It'll bring me to what's called the agent builder. And we will dive into agents holistically here towards the end of today's conversation. Underneath agents, we can access our conversation history. So as we're going through and modifying or having conversations with Copilot, each session is then saved. And then there's a title for that chat session that Copilot gives that particular session. So if we're talking about, in this case here, I was talking to another customer about, lesson plans, right, for K through 12, right? And in that chat session, we're really diving into a lesson plan, building out a week-long lesson plan aligned to, ecosystem science lessons. Copilot was able to understand what we are talking about in that chat session, give me a suggested title for that, and then now that chat session has this particular label. And as you can see, I have multiple chat sessions from my from my previous conversations. Underneath that, we can access what's called Copilot pages. I'll dive into that during today's demo. Copilot pages are incredibly useful, allows you to stay within your workflow while being able to talk to Copilot chat while also taking out those responses and having a forum or a place for you to make modifications to those responses. Underneath that, for those of you who have a Copilot license, you'll have access to what's called Copilot notebooks, where you can do things like upload files that you have access to and ask Copilot direct questions about those files, all within one notebook. And then we also have the Create tab. Create tab is incredibly beneficial. Say if you're wanting to create a net new image or create like a poster design, you can come to the Create tab to do just that. Lastly, here we have the app section. The app section gives us the ability to download any sort of applications that we have access to. For those of you who like to make modifications to the UI, say particularly the appearance of it, whether you're a light or dark mode, we do have a capability within Copilot Chat. For me, I'm a dark mode type of person. However, I know there are a lot of light mode people out there, so it's as simple as just choosing that different preference. For the sake of this demo, I'm gonna go back to dark mode because it's easier on the eyes, so to speak, right? If I go back to chat here, you'll also notice that we have this green shield icon. That is referring to that enterprise data protection that I talked about, compliance capabilities on the back end from your IT admin to be able to ensure the proper use, as well as for you as the end user, understanding that what you put in does not get then taken by Copilot to train the system behind the scenes or the large language model behind the scenes to make the tool better. That system's only trained on public information, things that are out there on the public web. And as we're going through and creating new conversations, right, having new chat sessions, or having a conversation with Copilot, if we want to switch up the lanes and ask a Copilot about maybe something that's completely different than what we're currently talking about, we do recommend starting a brand new chat session. Give Copilot a blank slate to work off of so that there's no potential there's no situation where Copilot might take any context from a previous conversation or from earlier in the conversation into the net new conversation. So if we're talking about stars and galaxies and things of that nature, right, in one conversation, and I want to switch up the lanes and talk about the Red Sox Yankees rivalry, right, that might be a good situation where we can go in and start a new chat. And essentially here, guys, this whole solution is called M365 Copilot Chat. So we're going to go back to the presentation real quick, and then we're going to start an interactive activity, really driving home how we can go about best utilizing this tool. So one second here. Alrighty, so let's jump into let's jump into how we go about best utilizing Copilot Chat, and we do that through what's called prompts, right? And prompts, they're our main mechanism into how we interact with Copilot. So there is best practices in terms of how we best structure our prompts, how we best interact with Copilot. So we have a three-step process to help ensure you get the most value out of your conversations with Copilot Chat. The very first thing here is to one, understand what are we trying to accomplish at the very beginning, right? What is the action that we're trying to take place? Are we trying to learn about something new? We're trying to edit a particular text? Are we trying to summarize some information? What are we trying to accomplish? And as you know, one thing I like to highlight here is, you know, as we're going through the years, right, before the time of generative AI, keywords were a big deal. When we're using any search major search engine out there, Bing, for example, we always needed to have an idea about, hey, what keywords do we need to put into the search engine to find the most relevant information, right? But insert generative AI. That's no longer the case, right? More is now more. Less is, you know, the whole keyword search, time or term that we had is no longer applicable. So the more that we feed into Copilot, the more Copilot is able to understand the context behind the ask and is able to align itself in the best way in responding to your particular question or inquiry. So at this time, guys, what I like for everybody to do is to think about a dog playing with a toy, right? Mind you, everybody should have MD5 Copilot Chat open within their browsers. Again, go to m365copilot.com if you have not already. Again, m365copilot.com. Right now, I want everybody to think about a dog playing with a toy. And I want you to really get as vivid as possible when you're thinking about this particular image, right? So think about the breed of the dog. Think about what type of toy is the dog playing with, right? Is it a Rottweiler? Is it a Pit Bull? Is it a Golden Doodle or Labradoodle, right? What kind of toy is it? Is it a boomerang? Is it a tennis ball, for example? So I want you to really think about all aspects, right? Where is the dog located? Is it in the Rocky Mountains? Is it on campus in Colorado, or is it on the beach somewhere in Jamaica or Florida, for example, right? Think about full spectrum what this image might entail. And while you're doing that, right, I want to highlight there are certain elements that we want to bring into our prompts. There's four key elements that we have listed here that help ensure us that this helps us make the what's called the quote unquote perfect prompt. We have the goal, the context, the source, and the expectations. Goal, what exactly do we want from Copilot? What response do we want from Copilot? Context, why do we need that? Source, do we need to have Copilot look at any particular items? And then lastly, the expectation, you know, how you want Copilot to respond. And, you know, not every situation requires all four elements to be present. But however, the more elements we do bring to the table, the more Copilot is able to understand what we're trying to get at and then align itself again to give you the most appropriate response. So in this case, here's a good prompt: create an agenda, prepare me for an upcoming meeting with my manager, focus on emails and chats, and then respond using simple language. In this case here, this is a great M365 Copilot prompt. However, for this particular activity, we probably really need to focus on the goal and the expectation here, for example, right? So here's an example image that we created here within EDU for this particular interactive activity of a dog playing with a toy. And at this time, what I like for you guys to do is to go into Copilot Chat. I'll give a couple minutes for this activity. Go into Copilot Chat and attempt to create that vivid image that you have in your head around that dog playing with a toy. And so I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes, and then I'll show you guys the prompt that we use within EDU to create this image and see how you could have made your prompt a little bit better potentially. Alrighty, guys. Hopefully, at this time, you were able to create an image. You prompted with Copilot Chat. You asked it to create an image of a dog, for example, and you got some images back. So let's see how your prompt compares to the one that we used to create the image that you see here on the screen. So here's the prompt that we use. Create an image of a dog holding a tennis ball in its mouth. The dog should be a mixed breed, primary hound, with black and white coloring. The dog should appear happy. The setting is a public park in a small suburb with the playground equipment visible in the background. The weather should be clear, indicating a spring day. The perspective of the photo should be head on, facing the dog, with the background subtly blurred. So as you can tell, it's a pretty extensive prompt. And if we're new to generative AI, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, go from zero to hero, right? And it's important to know when we're working with Copilot, you do have the ability to continue that conversation, right? So just because we didn't get it right the first time, maybe we're a little too generic in that very first prompt, and it gave you some probably really quality images, right? Just from its innate ability to create net new images, but maybe it's not quite aligned to what you originally had in your head. Follow up with Copilot right now, and then and pull Copilot more in the direction where that image is. So, like, say if you said, "Hey, create an image of a dog," and you didn't really specify a breed, and it gave you just a random breed, but you really wanted, say, a Labradoodle in this image, right? And everything else in the image that it gave you was perfect, right? Just follow up with Copilot and say, "Hey, thank you for this image," right? Be polite. You know, Copilot loves when we're polite. And say, hey, change the breed of this dog to a Labradoodle, for example, right? And then see how Copilot's able to take those original images as context and help you out with the net new images that it will go and create. And this is really applicable beyond just images, guys. As we're prompting with Copilot and using Copilot Chat as your true assistant, we could have a conversation where we, start off pretty generic, and then we can help Copilot tailor the conversation to where we're trying to go with that particular interaction. So continue the conversation is a very big thing. Do know we're all new, relatively new to generative AI. Might not get it right the first time, but we can always follow it up with additional prompts to align Copilot to what we're looking for. So at this time, guys, you should have received a couple of different images. What I would like it for you guys to do is to go back and change a certain aspect of that image. So we're going to continue on the conversation. In this case here, we start off with the original dog photo, and we wanted to change up certain aspects, whether we want to make it more animated, we want to make it Pixar 3D animated, for example, or make it more like a water painting. Just showing you how we continue the conversation and make modifications to say a particular image right now. So I'm gonna give another couple minutes here, follow up with Copilot, ask it to change a certain aspect of that image, and then you can see how your words really do come to life.
And while we're waiting, I'm going to answer a couple questions live. Copilot Chat is now integrated into Teams and Outlook. There's a separate app that can be downloaded as well. Um, we do have some questions regarding some of the applications on the side, and we'll be getting you answered. The agents will be getting you answers to those shortly.
Yep, we will get to agents here momentarily. Alrighty, so hopefully at this time, guys, you're able to follow up with Copilot and generate some new images. Maybe change a certain aspect, maybe you create a Pixar animated version, or maybe you, change the scenery. Originally you probably said, "Hey, I want this dog to be in the mountains." Now I want it to be in on a sunny beach somewhere. So um, the possibilities are truly endless when it comes to your conversations with Copilot. Do want to take this moment to highlight that we do have a copyrighted commitment. So any images and any material that you're able to generate using generative AI through Copilot, that information, those responses are yours, and you can use it for use. So these images that you're creating, you could then take them, put it on a public website, and it's yours. You won't have any copyright, any potential copyright conflicts there. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and jump into the demo portion of today's call. So I keep stop sharing there. Let me. Alrighty. All right. So in Copilot Chat, at this time, you guys have those images, right? What I like for you guys to do is one, you can watch me go through just some use cases that you can use Copilot Chat. There'll be a portion of this where I'll open up for you guys to try out some of the things that I go through. So I'll give you guys some time for that, and then address some more questions towards the end. Towards the end of the conversation today, we'll be diving into agents and how that plays into Copilot Chat. So bear with me there. I know that there's some questions there around that. So we're here at Copilot. We're here within Copilot Chat. So let's think about how we can use this tool to help support your work within CU. So whether you're in research or maybe you're in a clinical practice, you're teaching or you're an admin, there's some real-time examples here that can help that you can use Copilot to help save some time and help boost some productivity. So let's just say that you're preparing for a grant proposal or a journal club. So instead of digging through dozens of papers or dozens of websites or files that you have access to, you can use Copilot to summarize the latest findings, and it will pull information from trusted sources, and it'll give you a concise, readable overview. So in this case here, let's go and start things off pretty light, right? I can come in to Copilot and I'm gonna say, "Hey, Copilot, I want you to summarize the latest research on mRNA vaccine delivery systems." Copilot then is going to scan the internet and use this huge knowledge bank of information called a large language model to help align itself to answer this question. So Copilot then was able to come back, give me a couple of things around the latest research around this. So improve lipid nanoparticles with I don't know how to pronounce that, um, as well as cellular mechanisms and mRNA delivery and processing. Pretty extensive, pretty great, right? But maybe I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, this is good, but you know what? Let's
Hey, real quick, PJ.
oh,
Sorry
hey,
to
hey
interrupt you.
guys.
Are you sharing your screen? Because it is not
Yes.
appearing
Oh,
to the.
okay.
I'm not seeing anything. We're seeing some stuff in the Q&A pop up as well that's not showing.
Okay, thank you guys. Let me make sure we're sharing this. Thank you, Nick.
There it is.
Everywhere. Hey guys, can we see now? Perfect. Welcome back. Alrighty, guys. So let's use Copilot here to help us with a grant proposal, for example, right? So we start things off, right, just like we're talking to any assistant, right? We probably start things off pretty generic, right? Summarization. Give me up to speed on the latest research. So in this case here, I'm gonna tell Copilot, hey, summarize the latest research on mRNA vaccine delivery systems. Copilot's going to go through the internet, the large language model that I was just talking about, to align itself to give me the best relevant answer, right? And in this, maybe I'm reading through this this response, and I'm like, okay, this is really good, but I really just need like three, key challenges that I want to review. So, like, say, hey, I'm gonna say, Copilot, hey, can you, list the three key challenges in a lipid nanoparticle delivery or mRNA vaccine? And I can follow up with that conversation and have Copilot more aligned to what I'm originally looking for, and is able to do just that. As I'm going through in this given case with Copilot, learning a little bit more, or helping me get prepared for this particular grant proposal, I want to take this information and use a forum where I can go in and modify these responses instead of having to go back and scroll all the way up and look at what Copilot has already told me. That's where what's called a feature called Copilot Pages comes into play. Copilot Pages is incredibly useful because it's built on top of what's called Microsoft Loop, right? And Loop is a big collaboration tool that helps you be able to share information with others that you work with, and then streamlines the whole collaboration process around updating a particular file or document. So, for example, here, in order to access Copilot Pages, all we have to do is simply click the Edit in Pages icon at the bottom of the response here. So I'm gonna go up to the very first one here for the sake of this demo. I'm gonna click on this edit in pages icon, and then I have the option to edit this Copilot response in a Copilot page. Click on edit pages, it brings up that sidecar, creates this Copilot page that I can then go in and make modifications to, right? So as I'm having this conversation with Copilot, down here when I had Copilot give me um, three key challenges, right? I can have Copilot add additional responses to the same page by simply clicking that same icon and having Copilot add it to that relevant page. This comes into, or this can be considered a game changer because what I could do at this time is share out this Copilot page as a component. So in order to do that, I simply just need to click the share icon on the top right, copy as a component. And now this allows me to be able to take that link and send it out via email or send it out in maybe a Teams chat, group chat that I'm included in over this grant proposal that maybe a group that I'm working with is in charge of constructing, right? When I send that out, maybe other people start making modifications to that particular component. And the beautiful thing about loop components is that whenever there's a modification made in that loop component, all instances of that component is then updated. So whether I'm accessing it via here and within Copilot, or whether I'm in an email thread and I'm making a modification, or if I'm in that group chat, if one of my partners, say, Nick or Will, made a modification to this, I will see that real time, that change real time here. And then what this does for me specifically is allows me to continue my conversation with Copilot while making updates to this potential like grant proposal, for example. One other thing I like to highlight, a lot of times people are like, hey, this is really cool. And I really like the whole idea of being able to pull these responses into a common area, this Copilot page. But maybe I'm really into Word, and I really want to take this outside of Copilot. We did start pushing that feature out to where anything you have within a Copilot page, you can then pull that information and put it into a relevant Word document. Simple as clicking that Word icon on the top right, opening Word, and then now everything that was in that Copilot page, including the format and everything, is now within a Word document. Pretty useful. We're also going to be extending the feature or the capability of being able to pull that information and create a PowerPoint presentation, but that's later on this year. I have the header. Oh, how do I get rid of it? All right. So that's Copilot Pages. Now back to Copilot Chat, right? Say, or really Copilot Chat can do just more than that, right? We can have Copilot reason over things, ask generic questions, maybe about maybe a project that we're included in, but we can also do more things. And some of those things include being able to upload files to our session. So in this case here, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to start a brand new chat session by clicking that start a new chat icon at the top right. And now we're given a fresh slate to start a brand new conversation. So in the video that I played earlier today, you saw that you can add a file. Now, granted, it was through the old UI. A couple ways of being able to do that, or the main way being just clicking the plus icon. So in this case here, I have a marketing document, a marketing a proposal that this demo tenant has created. So in order for me to reference that particular document, I can simply click that plus icon. and attach a file within my personal OneDrive or upload a file that's stored locally on my machine, say my downloads folder. So in this case here, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to pull out that Contoso marketing plan. And what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to show you guys what that plan actually looks like here in a second. And while it is loading, I'm going to upload this file to this chat session. And I'm going to bring over this example Contoso marketing plan for you guys to view. So this marketing plan is a pretty extensive document, right? It's 2,200 words, just over that. And as I'm scrolling through this, right, maybe I need to review this for an upcoming meeting, and and maybe that meeting's in 30 minutes, and I don't really have time to, go through this extensive document, 2,200 words within 30 minutes, and really understand what exactly I'm looking at. And that's where Copilot can really come in and help out. So in this case here, I'm gonna exit out of this proposal, right? And I have this marketing plan added to my chat session. And I can do things like tell Copilot, hey, I want you to, summarize this document. And maybe I want to take it a little bit further than that, and I tell Copilot, I want you to do it just within a couple of paragraphs. So 3 paragraphs to be specific. I'll shoot this off to Copilot. Copilot has access to that marketing plan, right? It's going to scan that document and give me exactly what I'm looking for. Do note, whenever we are uploading files to our chat sessions, we are essentially uploading that file to our personal OneDrive. So you may have noticed a recent change in your OneDrive folders or in your personal OneDrive, where there's a new folder called Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat Files. That is essentially where these files are being uploaded to. So as you're adding more documents to these chat sessions, those documents are essentially just being uploaded to your personal OneDrive, just for awareness. So going through here, guys, had Copilot reason over that particular document and gave me a good summary. You could do things like control how Copilot responds to you. So right now we have it in paragraph format, right? Maybe I just need 5 bullet points. So I'm gonna say, hey, uh, con- condense. I'm gonna follow up with Copilot and say, hey, I want you to condense this down. Uh, gotta love my typing today. And Copilot again is able to take that original response as context, align itself to my updated ask, and then align it and then give me the most relevant response. In addition to just doing like broad summaries, right? We can get a little bit more pointed, right? So this is a marketing sync, and one of the sections refer to the target market, something that's been discussed in these responses here. And I want to get a little bit more insight into what these target markets are, right? So in this case here, I can continue on the conversation, ask Copilot, hey, are there any target markets discussed? Right. If so, please list them in table format. And I can tell Copilot even how I want that table to be formatted. So one column for the target market, another column for the brief description of that particular market, and then we'll see how Copilot comes back and is able to respond. So say, maybe I'm in a meeting and I need a good table visual instead of having to show, 5 bullet points or a brief summary for the audience, right? Let's just make it simple, easy to read format with this table and copy and paste that, say in that in the chat session or in that Teams meeting, for example. So at this time, guys, what I would like for you guys to do is think about a file that you have access to that you could utilize Copilot Chat to reason over. Go through, add a file to your current chat session that you have add a file that you have access to your current chat session, and ask Copilot to do simple things like summarize that particular file. I'm gonna give a couple minutes for you guys to, find a file to do that and then we'll continue on with this demo here. Alrighty, hopefully at this time, guys, you were able to go through, add a file to a chat session within Copilot Chat, ask Copilot to summarize that file. You maybe come back and ask it, hey, change up the format of it, get some real world hands-on keyboard experience with Copilot Chat. Really useful. While I'm here, I do like to highlight that you can do more than just summarize files and have Copilot look into a file and answer questions about a Word document, for example. You can also create visuals or graphs from Copilot. So what I like to do here in this, in these kind of examples is I like to bring out a Excel spreadsheet, particularly an e-bike inventory form. So in this particular e-bike inventory form, we're keeping inventory of e-bikes, right? So we in this spreadsheet we categorize them as road and mountain bikes, for example. Imagine that this is an inventory of e-bikes on campus, right? So we want to have some sort of document that keeps all this information. So from the product category, the model of it, the model number, the wheel size, the weight of these bikes, right? We want to have a document that contains this information. So this particular file. But as I'm going through, right, it can take a little while to go and try to find relevant information. And maybe I want to get some insights into this particular inventory of e-bikes that Colorado has. So what I'm going to do here, guys, I'm going to come in and start a brand new session, and I'm going to add that particular e-bike inventory form to this chat session. And then I can do things like, hey, Copilot, I want you to visualize this document, right? And I want to compare two separate columns that are referenced in that particular spreadsheet. So in this case here, I want to visualize the document comparing particularly the product category and the current price. So I'm gonna shoot that off. Copilot's gonna look into that spreadsheet for me and then give me a visual that compares those two columns. All right, perfect. Really good, useful tool, useful feature in terms of, again, creating some sort of stunning visual that to be included maybe in a PowerPoint presentation, for example. So this is a good example. Now we're talking about e-bikes, right? But it really applies to anything beyond that, of course, right? So really, really cool and useful tool. All right. Okay. And before we dive into the world of agents, there's a question here that was brought to my attention around the M365 Copilot paid version versus the Copilot chat solution or feature tool, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so the M365 Copilot chat is that free offering, and it's everything that we just went through. This is where you can, ask Copilot questions. It gives you answers. It references the power of the internet and that language model, that huge knowledge base to answer your questions. If you receive the paid version of M365 Copilot, that essentially means that you allow Copilot to have access to files and documents that you have access to that's stored in your OneDrive by through its native ability. So instead of you always having to go through and intentionally add a particular file or files to be reasoned over, we can simply just toggle over to the Work tab and then ask Copilot more generic questions, right? So if we wanted to ask Copilot, hey, can you help me prepare for an upcoming meeting, right? It understands, it has access to your Outlook calendar. It understands what is your next meeting. It understands the context around the meeting, who's the organizer of that meeting, who are the attendees, what's the agenda item, are there any relevant files associated with that meeting? And it does that just from its native out of the box ability. There's no situation where you need to go and forcefully feed that information. For the sake of today's call, we will be focusing on the Copilot chat area. So you could do everything that we just did. Hopefully that gives you guys some clarity on that. Now, I think this is a good time to move into the agentic AI portion of today's conversation, right? And unless you lived under a rock, hopefully you heard the term AI agent by now. And what we just did, right? We talked about M365 Copilot Chats, that holistic solution, right? Is pretty broad in terms of its features and capabilities. But what if, AI agents really come into play to help be that little mini expert that can help streamline a particular workflow or really tackle something specific, not as broad as the holistic Copilot solution. So essentially, guys, an agent within Copilot Chat, it's like a specialized helper that is pretty much trained to do a specific kind of task pretty well. So again, think of it like the holistic Copilot Chat being your all-around assistant, and then the agent being like a little mini expert that Copilot can call whenever you need help with something specific. And in order to access agents that you have access to or that have been pushed to you as the end user, you can go to the agent section here on the top or on the left-hand navigation pane, click the drop down, and then you can see a list of agents you have access to. These agents that I have listed here are Microsoft created. And if you want to see a list of agents that or a holistic view of agents that you do and do not have access to, all you have to do is click on the All Agents icon, brings you to the agent store for you to get a holistic view of that. So in this case here, we have a few agents that we created Microsoft that pushed out to our customers from the prompt coach to writing coach, idea coach. Do note some of these agents that are pushed out do require that paid license. For today's conversation, we'll be focusing on those that are included with your existing licenses that do not incur a cost. So those are the ones here, this prompt coach, the writing coach, idea coach, career coach, and learning coach. So in terms of using an agent and really seeing like the features and capability, what I like to do is do a brief video demo of the Learning Coach agent, right? So Learning Coach agent is really good in terms of helping you upskill maybe in a particular area that you are considered weak in, right? And I'm just going to put on the persona of me, PJ, being a student, and I need to get up to speed over, lung cancer. I have a test around lung cancer, for example. So this is where the learning coach can come into play. As whenever we're trying to, or when we access an agent, we can do it multiple different ways. One, we can just simply click on the agent like I did in the left-hand pane and bring out our interactive um, UI around that agent. Or say if I'm in Copilot Chat itself, all I have to do is click the at icon, and then I can reference that particular agent as well. It's the same capabilities, right? So whenever you do an at or whenever you add an agent, say to the Copilot chat, so you did at and then you referring to a particular agent, what you're essentially doing at that point, you're having a dedicated conversation only with that agent. So you're not using the holistic MP5 Copilot chat solution. At this time, you're specifically chatting with that particular agent, that particular assistant, for example, right? So in this case here, I'm a student. I want to I need help with getting up to speed for an upcoming test, right? So I'm gonna interact with this learning coach agent and say, hey, learning coach, I need you to help me learn more about lung cancer for an upcoming test, right? And based on the rules of engagement that were set for this particular agent, it's going to take what my ask is, align itself to the rules of engagement, how the agent was trained, and then give me the most relevant response, right? So in this case here, is able to this uh, break down my ask around, getting up to speed on lung cancer, right? Giving me a brief little intro on it, the types of lung cancer, the symptoms, the diagnosis, the treatment options, and allows me to get a full overview about this particular test, right? A particular subject, lung cancer. But maybe I want to really dive into maybe treatment options. That's where I can then continue that conversation with this learning agent. Say, hey, Copilot, you know, I want to, get into the different treatment options. So at this point here, I'll just say, hey, Copilot, um, thank you for this. And then at this point, Copilot is going to understand, hey, thank you for giving this holistic overview, but let's, get a little bit more granular in terms of the different treatment options. And then again, Copilot then is going to understand my ask and then tailor its response to that particular ask. Really useful. Beyond just the pre-canned agents that we pushed out, you do have the ability to create your own specialized agent. And you can do that by clicking on the Create Agent icon here. This opens up what's called the Agent Builder that's built on Copilot Studio. So let's see how this learning coach was actually constructed, right? So you can do this by, or whenever you're going through and creating an agent, you have the option to create an agent from an existing template. And these templates are essentially just choosing an agent that's already available to you, and then it'll open it up, show you the inner workings of it, and then you can make modifications to that particular agent to create a net new one, if that makes sense. So in this case here, I want to learn more about this learning coach agent, see how it's the inner workings of it. If I click on the configure tab, it showcases the full, it showcases how the learning coach is created. So from the name itself, the description that is utilized. So whenever you open up the learning coach, this is the information that's shown to the end user. Description and code important in terms of telling the end user how to go about using this agent. But the biggest part is the instructions here, the rules of engagement. So with these agents, again, these are, mini experts, right? So you give these agents a persona. Like, how do you want, what persona do you want this agent to embody? In this case here, we want this learning coach agent to embody the persona of being a learning coach, right? So help people who interact with this agent to understand complex topics, practice skills, define the right learning process, right? And these various skills that I want you to give coaching on are listed here. So breaking down complex concepts, so specifically simplifying concepts to beginner, intermediate, advanced levels, for example, and multiple different skills here that we have reference. Lastly here, one of the best practices in terms of creating an agent is to give the overall direction of the conversation, right? So how do you want Copilot to respond to users that access or interact with these agents? So maintain a professional support tone, keep context throughout the conversation, things of that nature they have listed here. One of the quote unquote superpowers of an agent is that you also have the ability to point this agent, or you have the ability to have an agent grounded in certain information. So with Copilot Chat, there's an abundant amount of information that Copilot Chat is trained on. And when you're asking questions, it's referring to that information in order to give you the best aligned response. But maybe just maybe, say you're within a certain department, say you're within HR within Colorado, for example, right? And you have an HR site that has a whole bunch of knowledge, a whole bunch of relevant process documents related to HR activities that you want to create an agent for. So, say someone who's net new to the organization has a place to go and ask questions about maybe various HR processes that are unique to Colorado. So you could create an agent, right, in that given case. You go through, give the name, the description, you give it the rules of engagement, right? And then you can have that particular agent grounded in that specific SharePoint site that contains that information. You can do that for up to 20 knowledge sources. Do note whenever you create an agent that refers to internal information, there is a cost, separate costs associated with that. However, you could point these agents to public websites too as well. So it could be grounded in the web and or specific sites on the public web. And in that case, if we're referring to public information in these agents, there is no cost associated. So you can create as many agents like that as you want. Moving on from specifying the specific websites or internal files and SharePoint sites that you have access to, you could give it the ability to do a more wide public internet search too as well, simply by just toggling on that web search toggle. You can also give this agent code interpretation capabilities. Say if you're in computer science, right, and you want to create an agent for students to use to help them get up to speed on, say like creating Python code to complete various tasks, you can create like a code interpretation agent and enable this capability. Also, image generation capabilities where we're creating images like we did earlier today. And then lastly here, the starter prompt section, which is incredibly useful because this gives the end user insight to how specifically to go about using this particular agent. So whether in this case here, this learning agent, learning about a topic, learning a new language, practicing a certain skill, and the relevant prompt to use to accomplish that particular action, it gives that user full spectrum, full capability of understanding, hey, what can I do with this particular agent? What's in it for me? Really tackles that what's in it for me narrative. So in here we can do things like delete the starter prompts or move them around if we wanted to change the order of that. Do want to highlight here though, this is different. What you put in here, these starter prompts are static, right? So unlike the holistic Copilot chat solution, how we have different starter prompts that are referenced there, they're like on a rotation. This would be the same starter prompts as visible for every interaction with that particular agent. So um, just want to highlight that nuance there. And say, we went through, we made some modifications. Say we made this version 2.0 of this learning coach, for example. I do have the ability to then go and try this newly modified learning coach before I then go in and create this agent, publish it out. So then I can share it out to maybe some colleagues too as well to be able to utilize that agent. But essentially, that's how you go about creating a net new uh, Copilot chat agent. Alrighty here. I think this would be a good time to open it up for the Q&A portion of this call. Let me go ahead and stop sharing so I can actually see the Q&A. I know we have some helpers here going through and answering some questions. I
There's
want
a
to make
lot
sure.
of unanswered questions. We're still getting to them.
Okay.
Some of the big ones I've seen have been around the work web toggle. I believe
Yeah.
Melissa put something in chat, but it's you're only going to see that work web toggle if you have a paid license. She put in chat a link to where you can get more information about that for your organization. One of the other big things we've seen is a lot of people don't see the agents part. And so you may not see agents yet internally. Some of this is more of going to be proof of concept for you, so you know what might be coming. Your organization may or may not have agents enabled for you yet. It's something that not every organization has turned on. But these things they exist, they're here. We want you to know about them so that if and when they do get turned on, you know what they are. Uh, there's been a lot of questions, and we're still working through chat. We had one of our moderators had to jump off. We have 174 open questions. We're working to get them answered.
And there was a question about daily limits. The free version of Copilot does have a daily limit as set by Microsoft. The paid version is unlimited prompts and pictures.
Yeah, so the limits, we don't have any of their limits published just because they change all the time. We're constantly trying to make improvements. The file upload limit used to be 1 megabyte, and now it's 250 megabytes or 500. I don't know. It went up by a
512
lot.
now.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're constantly making updates. The prompt limit for the free version is something like 300 prompts. So like I have yet to meet anyone who's actually met that limit. I think there's actually a limit for the paid version as well, but it's like 600 or something. Like it's like I said, I've never met anyone who hit that limit before, and that's not prompts. That's going to be like conversation style. Um, so prompt as much as you want. The image generation, it was set to 1. We've seen it as much as 5 now for the free version. So you might get mixed results as that's kind of rolling out. But I believe it's supposed to be 3 to 5 for that image generation, and that is just due to how resource intensive it is to generate images. There was an article for ChatGPT where it was literally melting their machines, like their servers, because of how much or how resource intensive image generation is with that new model. So that is why resources cost money. What other questions do we have in here?
We have a really good one about how do you get Copilot to iterate on the same picture rather than create an entirely new image with the next instruction?
That is a great question. And again, something that's rolling out. There is a new image model. It's the GPT 4.0 model, where you can do something more along those lines of keeping that same image and making small adjustments to it while keeping the overall image very close to the same thing rather than redoing the whole one. You'll know you're using that new model when you're creating the image. You actually see the image getting generated, kind of like an old printer. It's going across the top, and then it just starts making it from top to the bottom. If you're still seeing the old Dolly version where it's creating the image, you have not been moved to that new model yet. That is currently rolling out.
And I also want to answer a question. Can Microsoft 365 be used to search files that may contain HIPAA all of our Microsoft 365 licenses is HIPAA compliant. However, you do need to abide by IT and HIPAA compliance regulations, including FERPA. I'm posting here in the chat a link to our IT compliance website about using Microsoft Copilot securely. It is approved to be used with confidential and highly confidential information, provided you do log into it with your university credentials and see that green check mark up in the box at the top, letting you know that you are securely there. And just as we're going through these questions, I do want to iterate and I will share a link to our AI website that we have that lists all of the AI tools that are approved to use with university data. ChatGPT and OpenAI are not secure to use with university information. They are not compliant with confidential or highly confidential information as they do store the prompts. That was something that came up earlier. Can you, PJ and or Will, discuss more about how Microsoft Copilot Chat uses the prompts? We know that it doesn't save any of them, and that's why we can use it with confidential and highly confidential information. So how does it actually work?
DJ, you want that? Or you want me to take it?
Huh?
You want to take it?
Yeah, I could take it. All right. Yeah. So there's a certain, when it comes to, whenever you're interacting with Copilot Chat, there's a series of steps that Copilot takes in order to come to an answer. And it's the same series of steps that it takes over and over again. It's all within what's called an orchestration engine. So from the time you hit enter on that prompt, it's able to take your prompt, take whatever grounding information files that you've included in that chat session, reason over that information by referencing a private instance of OpenAI's GPT-4o language model to then understand the context, understand the answer to your particular inquiry, and then shoot you back a response. On the way back out from the large language model, there are a series of steps around responsible AI, where we define the rules of engagement of a Copilot, as well as any compliance checks that are needed before giving you a response. So, from the admin perspective, right, there are a series of solutions that you can implement to help tailor the use of Copilot Chat, and referencing to like sensitive information, whether or not you're even allowed to use sensitive information in Copilot Chat. However, none of those prompts are then taken and then ingested into that large language model to train the model itself, and then we use that language model for other customers. That never happens. Part of our commitment to you guys. But yeah, that's the step-by-step process. There's a whole conversation that we can have around that. That might be a little bit longer than this conversation here. Um, I don't know if you have any other comments on that one, Will.
Just a few things to add. So any of your files that you upload, I put this in a couple of the responses in the Q&A, but any files you upload through Copilot Chat will get uploaded into your OneDrive and stored there. So we're not just taking those files you upload and storing them somewhere in the Microsoft side. Like those go to your tenant, they get stored in your OneDrive. Um, so we're not doing anything with that data. Any of your responses, if it does a web search on any content to pull back in the response, your identity, your organization's identity, and the prompt that was used is not stored anywhere. We're not using any of that information out there. We use the same Bing terms of service when it comes to that. Um, and then, oh, what was I gonna say? I've already forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry, that was all I was going to say about that one. But I saw there's several questions in here around meetings and transcripts and Zoom and Teams and all that, and how do we generate meeting minutes with that? And that's a really great question, and I wanted to speak a little bit on that if we have the time. Um, and also, am I able to share my screen, Melissa, or is that just limited to PJ?
You should be able to as a panelist.
Okay. I would like to show something because there was also a lot of questions around people who weren't seeing agents, and I just want to make sure that we're looking in the right place.
If you are sharing, we don't see it.
I'm working on it. Sorry.
Okay.
Go. All right. Hopefully everyone can see my Copilot screen now. And I
Yes.
am going to it through Teams. So I'm within Teams and I clicked on Copilot over here on the left rail. So that is how I've gotten to it. I didn't go through the web, so just a different endpoint. And so if you were in this spot or a spot like this and you were not seeing the agents over on the left-hand side like PJ was seeing, they might be over on the right-hand side. If you click that little button in the top right, that's where I see my agents in here. So that might be what you were seeing. It might also be that agents have not been turned on for you yet. So it could be one of those two things. Now, the other thing I want to quick show you is just that generating meeting minutes. And so I'm going to start with just a transcript file, which you can grab either from Teams or from a Zoom meeting or any other meeting. As long as you can get your hands on that file, we can upload that file by doing an upload, kind of like we did before. I got to remember what it's called. I think I have it under transcript. Yep. So I'm going to put a meeting transcript file in here, and I'm just going to put in a prompt saying, um, generate meeting minutes for this document, include attendees and their roles, table, add action items. I'm just adding some stuff in here. But I can do that. So I can take, like I said, a Zoom's meeting transcript though. So this transcript from this meeting, I can upload it in there and I can get meeting minutes out of it. If you have the paid license, you can do this directly within Teams after or during a meeting that's happening. If you don't have that paid license, just you can get that transcript file and upload it into Copilot Chat, just like I'm doing here, to generate that. So this one's putting in a document. I needed to be a little more specific in my prompt. So this actually is creating a Word document for me, which I wouldn't have wanted. I would probably word that a little bit differently and it would have just showed it on screen for me. But that's how I would do it. Oh, and this was a bad sample. That document was empty. Sorry. I picked the wrong file. But that's how you would do it. And you would get those meeting minutes directly in here. And so you could filter down that and keep having a conversation with Copilot to make it formatted the way you want, have proper headers and things like that. And then just reuse that prompt the next time you have a meeting transcript. That's all I wanted to show. So,
Thank
what other
you.
questions do we have?
We also had some great questions about AI hallucinations and how can we make sure that the information being generated by Copilot is accurate. I think PJ spoke to this a little bit earlier, but if he can reiterate or you will, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, so to help prevent AI hallucinations, right? Say if we're going down a rabbit hole in a conversation about stars and galaxies, like I referenced before, we want to switch up the lanes and change the subject to something that's considered like a complete 180. What you would do is just simply start a brand new chat. So if you're having a chat around stars and galaxies and you want to talk about um, lung cancer, right? um, Start a new chat for that brand new conversation so that any context or any chats that were in that previous conversation is not used as context for the net new conversation that you're trying to start.
The other place I see hallucinations a lot is if you're trying to reference a whole lot of information at once. Let's say you're trying to summarize a document that's 500 pages long or something. Um, there are limits to how much a Gen AI system can ingest at once. And so by formulating your prompt so that it's only looking at certain information and pulling out certain parts of that document instead of trying to look at everything at once will help with things with those hallucinations. And something you can add into your prompt, if you know it hallucinated, tell it. Say, hey, you hallucinated on this part, don't include any information about that and make sure you can tell it those things. It shouldn't do it by default, but it happens. Any Gen AI system is going to hallucinate. And as the new models and everything come out, those numbers go down. Like we're definitely improving from over 2 years ago, right? Um, but you can add things into your prompt if you see it do something like that.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Do you know if it references the sources it used to pull information?
If the answer that it gives is pulling information from the web or from a document, it will reference that material. If it used that pre-trained large language model for its answer, so for instance, you asked it about the Olympics, 10 years ago, that is part of that pre-trained material. It doesn't have to go out to the web. It doesn't have to look at a document to answer on that. And therefore it's not going to reference anything. So if you don't get any references, it's most likely because it is responding from that LLM. Otherwise, you should see a list of references at the bottom of that.
Awesome. That is super helpful. We have another great question. In the course of a chat conversation, how do you go back to a previous response and add a modified prompt?
So you're asking if you've had a conversation with Copilot, you leave, you come back, you want to go back to it and pick back up where you left off? Is that the question?
We can answer it that way because there was another one similar to that as well.
Okay. I'm going to go back to my screen share then.
You got it.
And I'm going to open up that right-hand side rail where all my previous chats are. So you should see this in your environment. I'm going to switch over to web just to show that it is there as well. Now my previous chats on the right-hand side are going to be different if you have that work web toggle. They'll be different if you're on work versus when you're on web. For those of you who don't see that toggle, you're going to see just all your previous chats over here. And so I can just go over here, find one that I've done before and click on that. So here's a good example. I took a paper napkin drawing of a diagram and asked Copilot to turn it into a flow diagram using Mermaid, which is a kind of a diagram scripting language. And it was able to generate that for me. So I can pick back up on this conversation and I can I can ask it another question. Hopefully that answers that question.
If you're in a chat and you've filled in a bunch of prompts and then you were like, you know what, I've gotten off course of where I wanted this to go, you can just do the same thing in that same chat and have it disregard all the other stuff that you've did.
If you find yourself, or either yourself, you've gotten off topic, or Copilot just takes a complete left turn where you wanted to go right, it's going to be better if you reset the conversation and start from your last good prompt. Sometimes it's very difficult to get AI to think the way you're thinking, and so it's better just to kind of reset that conversation and start from the last good prompt. So to do that, it's this button up here in the top, start a new chat. You'll click that and then just put in that prompt again.
Great. That is super helpful. Is there a way to upload a template in Word, ask a prompt, and then have Copilot put the answer directly into the template?
Not yet. You can have a template. So if you have a Word document that formats things in a certain way or has maybe a meeting minutes and it has how all you want the formatting to be, you can generate your meeting minutes and reference that document and say, format it like this. Same thing with like a sounds like me document or a branding guideline document or something like that. You could reference that document and Copilot will try and make what it's generating to look as much like that as it can. But as far as inserting into a template, it's not able to do that yet.
Thank you. We have a great question. When I ask Copilot to summarize scientific literature, does it use information available up to current date, or is there a cutoff point for the data it can access?
That's a great question. The pre-trained models are only trained up to a certain point in time. Our current one in there, I believe, is only trained up through October 2023, I think. And so it will use the internet and use Bing search results to pull anything from since then. So for instance, you ask it who won the Stanley Cup this year. If you don't have web content turned on, it's not going to know because it's not part of the pre-trained model. And so with that web content on, it basically does a Bing search, pulls out that information, and then we'll use Gen AI to phrase that response.
Thank you. Can Copilot also access SharePoint files or only those in OneDrive?
With a paid license, you'll be able to use SharePoint files. If you're using the version we're talking about today, you would need to download and upload that file into your OneDrive in order for Copilot to see it.
Bear with me, I'm scrolling through. I'm so glad you all submitted so many questions. So yes, just to reiterate, you do have to pay or request the paid version separately, and I am putting links to that. But every faculty, staff, and student does have access to the free version of Copilot Chat, which is what we're going over today.
Here's a good example of a conversation I had where I took a meeting transcript and turned it into worthwhile meeting minutes. And so this was actually done on a call, very much like this one, where I gave it a transcript file. I asked it for meeting minutes, and it gave me something. It wasn't great, so I gave it some more parameters. It gave me another response, and I kept working on it. Had several different conversations or several different prompts to Copilot to finally get where I wanted it to be. And once I got that, a nice little trick that you can learn. So let's say I get all the way down here, I finally get the result I want. I can do a prompt like this one. So it says, now that I've found the final summary that is to my liking, can you look over our conversation and give me one prompt that would have given me this final output on the first try? This is a great little tip to help you learn how to write your prompt so that Copilot better understands it. So you have a nice long conversation with Copilot, but the next time you get your meeting minutes, you just want to run one prompt, not a list of prompts, right? So have Copilot write that prompt for you. And so it spat out a nice prompt, nicely formatted. I can now copy this and use this the next time I want my meeting minutes.
And as I'm going through this, I am seeing some more questions about the differences between the Work tab and the Web tab. So if you are using the paid version and you are able to use both tabs, the web content is not included in the Work tab by design so that you are only able in the Work tab to look at files, emails, and chats. And then in the Web tab, that's when you're able to look at all of the web stuff. If you are using the free Copilot Chat version, which is what we're talking about here today, you will only see the Web tab. And I know we've had some talks too about browsers. Obviously, Explorer is the best browser to use. Do you guys have any other suggestions about other browsers or how best to access Copilot Chat in Chrome or Firefox?
I know it works in Chrome. I don't use Firefox personally, so I'm not really sure if it's supported or not. Edge is definitely going to be the best, obviously, because that's where we publish all of our updates to. And our Copilot is also integrated in with Edge. So I would recommend that one. However, I do know Chrome does work. I can't speak to Firefox.
Thank you. I know that we are at time, so I'm going to post one final link in the chat to learn more about AI that we do offer on our website. Thank you everyone so much for coming. Thank you, PJ. Thank you, Will. Any final thoughts as we wrap up?
Nope, all
Nope.
good here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. Everyone have a great day. We'll follow up with the recording and an FAQ posted on our website.